All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone. This is Anthony Smoak. Go ahead and check me out on anthonysmoak.com. Definitely subscribe to me here on YouTube. Today, we're back in Tableau. We're going to be discussing forecasting in Tableau. So making a forecast in Tableau is relatively easy. But for the layperson, estimating whether that forecast is any good is a challenge. So I'm going to provide a few tips to help you better understand if you have a good model or not in Tableau. So we'll cover, number one, how to spot the difference between additive and multiplicative patterns. Those are two options you're going to have to pick to make a forecast in Tableau. How to evaluate the quality of the model with this MACE value. Shout out to P. Diddy and MACE. How to compare your forecast with your actuals to gauge the quality of your model, so you can use a little bit of hindcasting. So forecasting in Tableau uses a technique known as exponential smoothing, and exponential smoothing is just a forecasting algorithm that looks to find a regular pattern in your data that can be continued out into the future. So let's take a look at my data set here. I literally have a date and a sales value, so you can kind of look at this trend here. And I end in December 2017. I actually have actuals for 2018, but I'm showing a forecasted 2018 because later in the video I want to compare this to actuals to see how Tableau predicted the value. So this is a forecast, and you have your confidence intervals. It's a 95% confidence intervals, meaning the true value will fall somewhere 95% within this range here. So the algorithm is 95% sure that your true value will fall somewhere in this range. So let's go back into this right here. This is just a little example. We'll show how to put this together. Let me show you the data source first. So again, I got a date and actual sales. Very simple data set, right? It just goes out to the end of 2018, and I'll show you how we put this together. I'm just going to drag the date up here to columns, right? We'll drag actual sales out here to rows. And let's change this over to a month, right? You see I get that pattern there. I'm going to drag this out here, and I only want to look at, remember, I only want to look at 2013 through 2017. I want to exclude 2018. That's fine. All right, and we go to the analytics pane right here. And there's a forecast. We can simply just drag that here. And okay, so my colors here a little bit. I'm just going to change this to black real quick. That's fine. Say okay. You can see I've got my actuals, and you're wondering, what is this, right? So this is what's called a naive forecast. So it's taking a value that's very close to the last observed value and just pushing that out to the future. So it's really only used for comparison with better forecasts, right, using more sophisticated methods. So this is usually what Tableau starts you out with, but this is not what you want to keep. So you can change these values. So I'm going to go back to here, and here you're going to change this back to white real quick. Bear with me. Say okay. And so how do we, actually I'm going to go here. How do we change the naive forecast? What do we change that to? So in order to understand, let's take a look at the forecast here. We'll go into forecast options. You'll see that I can change the length of the forecast. I can say 2 years, push it out here. We're going to keep it 1. I can aggregate by different levels here. We're going to keep it at months because my data is at a month level. So let me draw your attention to the forecast model. So you've got this automatic with seasonality, and custom. In this model, automatic with seasonality doesn't do much, but if we go in here to custom, this is where people say, hey, what do I choose here for my trend? Do I choose additive? Do I choose multiplicative? For my season, also, do I choose additive and multiplicative? So really quick, I'm going to go into PowerPoint right here, and I want to show you this. This is what additive seasonality looks like. You can see the overall trend is up, right? So it's an additive trend. Even though that trend's going up, from the bottom here to the top, right? From the bottom to the peak here, for every cycle, we can see that the distance is about the same, right? If I go from the bottom to the top here, right, for every cycle, the distance is about the same. So in my seasonality, again, even though the trend is up, right, my you could say wave amplitude is about the same. So in multiplicative, take a look at this. From the bottom to the top here on every cycle, I'm getting a larger increase through every cycle. So that is a multiplicative seasonality, right? So if you can understand that basic, now there are very statistical ways to determine whether you have additive or multiplicative patterns, but just understanding how to spot that can help you out a little bit here. So if we go back into forecast options, for my trend, hey, I might start and say, hey, maybe that's additive, and maybe this is additive as well. Well, you know what? I'm going to choose something that's really wrong. Let's go multiplicative and multiplicative, right? So most people would just choose something and say, hey, you know what? I got a forecast in Tableau. I'm good to go. So here's how you would gauge the quality of this forecast that Tableau gives you. We're going to go to forecast. I want to describe the forecast. And so this is one thing that's great about Tableau and compared to Power BI, right? Tableau gives you that background information, and you can also take the points out of Tableau and analyze them as well. But if I take a look at this, you can see that my quality here is poor, right? So that's not good. And if I go back here into models, what I care about is my MACE value. So this is called the mean absolute scaled error. And so anything above 1, right, means this model is worse than Tableau just choosing the naive model and pushing out a data point into the future, a straight line. So if you're above 1, that's really bad. You don't want that, right? So that tells me choosing multiplicative for trend and for season is bad. So you don't want to share this forecast with anyone. So we can go back in here, and we can play with the options here. I mean, additive, that could be a possibility. I can go back here and I can go and look at describe the forecast, and hey, it's still poor, but I got a little bit better with my mean additive scaled error, right? So, or I'm sorry, mean absolute scaled error, 0.92. So not quite where I want to be. And so again, the lower this number, the lower this MACE, the better your model is, right? The less errors that you have. So I know that if you're below a 0.4, then Tableau will give you a good, in the summary, this quality right here, it'll give you a good quality. If you're below 0.8, you'll get an okay quality, and if you're greater than 0.8, you'll get a poor quality. So this model is greater than 0.8, so we get poor. So last, I would try this. Go to my forecast options. Let's go with no trend and keep the season additive, right? So even though it looks like I'm trending upward, sometime in 2015, my pattern got really, really seasonal. And the trend looks like it stopped, right? It doesn't look like it's trending up. It's just going through a cycle here. So, if we do an additive, if we do no trend but do an additive season, this could help our model quality. So if I go back in here, describe the forecast. So I'm okay, right? I'm look at the model. I'm at a 0.58 MACE, right? So okay, this is the best I'm going to get out of Tableau, so we will stick with this. So now I want to show you how you would compare this forecasted 2018 to actual 2018. So the great thing about, I'm going to go to a new sheet here. The great thing about Tableau is that, here, let me go back. I can hit Control A, and it's going to highlight all the points, right? I hit Control A, and when I come to a new sheet, hit Control V, it will put all the points in here for me to analyze, which is really cool. So, I have my actual sales, and then the forecasted values with that 95% lower bound and upper bound, right? So I can get rid of, let's get rid of the upper, let's get rid of the lower. I am going to go back here, and this is not actual sales. We're going to call this forecasted sales. And I'm going to name this to date, because that is the same name, whoops, as my actuals data. I also have a date in the actuals data. I can rename this clipboard if I wanted to. Data source. Yeah, we'll just do this. That's fine. Forecast. That's fine. I can go to my data source, and I could rename this if I wanted to as well. Forecasted data. I want everything to be have a new name here. I can double click in here, can I not? I know I can rename, but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. The point I want to make is you're going to have to rename this to match your actuals data, and rename the measure to forecasted sales. So this should be fairly simple at this point. I'm going to take my date. Let's put that up here. Oh, one thing you're going to have to do here, you're going to have to change this data type to a date, right? So that's good. And let's get rid of the forecast indicator. Let's get rid of the sum of forecast. Bring forecasted sales up here to rows, and you'll see I get that pattern. This is my forecast. Anything past 2018 is a forecast. And so I'm going to show me. Whoops. I should have left that. That's fine. We'll go back in here. We'll just change this to month, right? That gets me back to my pattern. So again, this is my forecast. What I want to do now is overlay my actuals on here, right? This is what we cut and paste into this viz. Now I want to pull my actuals data in here. Now you'll see here I'm using data blending on this date. In my actuals data I have a date, in my forecast I have a date. So if I go to let's go to data, in order to make this work, you have to have a common field. And so because I've named my date dimension date in the forecast and the actuals, Tableau automatically says, yes, I'm going to link on these fields. But if you did not, you could go in here to custom, and you can select add, and you can choose items to link up. We're not going to do that. We're going to go with the automatic, say OK. Now, that allows me to overlay in my actuals. I can bring in actual sales here, right? Now, at the bottom, I have actual sales, right? The numbers are going to be a little different. You see the forecasted sales in the tooltip, and the actual sales are a little different. And I can go in here, and I can go dual axis, and I get that overlay, right? Let's just change that to red, make it pop a little bit. Say OK. OK, great. I'm going to unhide that. Now, this is all actuals, and I can compare my forecast. So this is a forecast based upon previous patterns. Tableau thought that we would have $50,000 in forecasted sales, because probably in January of 2017, right, you got a little pop there, 45,000. Tableau thought we'd have a little bit more, but actuality happens, right? And actuals, we had about 40,000. But it does converge up here. This looks like a pretty decent forecast model, right? So knowing that I have a decent forecast, Tableau's provided me a decent forecast, I can go back into my original, right? And again, this is a prediction of 2018. I can go in here, and I can show filter. Now I'm going to say show 2018 right? I have my actuals in here for 2018, and this is my predicted 2019, right? We don't have actuals for 2019. We're going to rely on Tableau. So knowing that it did a good job of predicting actuals for 2018, we can assume it's going to do a decent job of predicting 2019. And actually, we can go in here, take a look at the forecast, and see the quality's okay, right? If I take a look, my MACE value is 0.61. Okay, that's good. So this has been Anthony Smoak. Hope you enjoyed what we talked about here. We learned how to spot the difference between an additive and multiplicative pattern. We learned how to evaluate the quality of our forecasted model with the MACE value. And we learned how to compare your forecast with your actuals to gauge the quality of the model. So this has been Anthony Smoak. Get out there, do some great things with your data. Thanks for watching, everyone.